Hi guys, my name is Christine and I'm a dating, relationship and personal development coach. And today I'm talking about when your ex has lost feelings, will no contact work? So my first honest answer is if your ex has lost feelings for you, then yeah, it's probably not likely that no contact will work, okay? So the thing that's going to draw your ex back to you is if they somehow regret the breakup, they regret their choice in dumping you, or they start missing you. Or it could be both of those things. They could miss you and they could regret the breakup, okay? So those are the things that are going to draw them back to you, the thing that's going to make them break no contact with you, okay? But the thing is that we're not mind readers. You're not a mind reader. I'm not a mind reader. There's no way of knowing for sure if your ex is going to come back or not, right? Because there's still they could, even if they have lost feelings for you, there's still a slight chance that they may come back. But the thing is that first of all, you need to think of like, okay, so how do I actually really know that they've lost feelings for me, right? It could be just a hypothetical situation, where you think maybe that they have, right? Because you don't know unless they've actually said. But even then, if they've said to you, they could have been lying about it, right? They may have said, oh, I don't care, but when actually they really do, right? So you never really know these things. So you shouldn't be really focusing too much on that, focusing on what's going on in your ex's head, because who knows, right? They could just be thinking about ducks right now. Like, it doesn't have to be, they might not be thinking about anything, right? So you don't want to be trying to mind read, trying to figure out what's going on in there, because who knows what's going on in there, right? So it could be a multitude of things, right? It probably is a multitude of things, because I don't know about you, but I have a lot of different thoughts during the day. I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts during the day. And there's the same thing that is going on with your ex. They have a lot of things that they need to contend with and think about. They're probably worried about God only knows what, right? Because what you got to remember is, in life in general, is that most of the time, no one's ever really thinking about you that much. Maybe sometimes, but most of the time, they've got their own problems to deal with, right? So that's one of the things that really helped me when I started to realize that it was like when you're a kid, you feel like the whole world revolves around you because you've got people that are catering to your needs, like your parents or your guardians. So you sort of become kind of a little bit selfish because you think the world revolves around you in some sort of way. And when you grow up, you kind of like realize that, hey, you know what? No one actually cares. no one cares. This is why when you're a teenager, you care so much about other people's opinions, right? Because you think everyone's thinking about you. When the fact is, no one's thinking about you, and everyone else is probably thinking the same thing anyway. Like they're just worried what everyone else is thinking, right? So it's one of those things. So don't worry about what your ex is thinking, okay, too much, because you're not going to know anyway. You don't know, right? So the next thing is, you got to stop focusing then on the things that you can't control, because you can't really control how your ex thinks and feels about you. You've already played your best move, which is going into no contact. That's the only thing you can do to try and maybe switch the situation around. But even then, like, there's no way to know for sure if that's actually going to change the situation, that that's actually going to make them come back, right? You can't control, basically, what they decide to do. It's completely out of your control, so you have to let it go. There's a quote that I like by Dr. Wayne Dyer, and that is, if it's in your control, then don't worry, just take control. But if it's not in your control, then don't worry either, because it's not in your control, right? So I always like that. This always made a lot of sense to me, that quote. So you got to start focusing on things that you can control. So the things that you can control are your own actions now moving forward. And, my best advice to people is when they go into no contact, when they've had a breakup, and it's been a situation where you didn't want the breakup to happen and you'd rather that you stayed together, you have to assume, it's hard to do it. You have to assume that they're not coming back, right? Because that puts you in the best position possible to start letting go and to start moving on. But if you're kind of like sitting there like hoping, oh yeah, maybe after 30 days they'll come back, maybe after 40 days they'll come back. If you start thinking like that and you start crossing off the days, because maybe like another dating coach or a breakup coach said to you, oh, it's going to take it's going to take 4.5 days for your ex to come back or something like that. They give you like this like weird date, and then you start crossing off the days thinking this is the optimal moment when my ex could come back. It just keeps you stuck when you keep on thinking in that kind of way. So you need to assume that they're not coming back so you can start moving on. So because sometimes, when you start learning about the no contact rule and things like that, and you learn about the different kind of days that people teach that it takes for your ex to come back, or the optimal time for you to actually contact your ex and stuff after a certain amount of time. It's basically not very good for your sanity in that sort of sense, because first of all, it keeps you stuck, right? It prevents you from moving on, right? So the best thing to do is to assume that they're not coming back so that you can move on and that you can start to feel better, because thinking about this kind of stuff is not going to make you feel better. Thinking about the no contact rule and getting too deep into it is not going to help. So take action on some of the things that you want in life. What ultimately do you want in this life? How do you want to progress in life? Where do you want to be in 5 years? What kind of business would you like to have? Where would you like to be in your career? Perhaps you've got a job that you really like and you want to get promoted, or you want different responsibilities. You need to think about these things. What would you like your body to look like? What would you like your finances to look like? What kind of house would you like to live? What kind of area would you like to live in? Right? And what you do then is you start making goals. You start making things, start taking action on those things. Start making a to-do list on what you need to do to get yourself there. Right? Kind of reverse engineer it. Think about the end goal and then think of, okay, what steps do I need to take to get there? And then you start taking those steps, because that's going to make you feel really good. And there's a quote I use all the time, and people can get sick of it eventually. But the reason why I repeat things, and I've said this before, is because the more times you hear it, the more likely you're going to take action on it. That's my personal learning style anyway. I have to keep on repeating things for it to get installed into my brain. And that quote is, "Inaction breeds doubt and fear. Action breeds confidence and courage. If you want to conquer fear, do not sit at home and think about it. Go out and get busy." So if you want to feel better about yourself, if you want to feel more confident about yourself, start taking action on the things that are important to you so you feel like you're progressing. Because if you feel like you're progressing, you're going to feel better about yourself, and you're going to feel better about your life and your life trajectory in general, because you might not be happy like right now where you are, but at least if you're taking steps to get to where you want to be, at least you're going to be happy and content with that, even if you are in a place right now where you're not feeling that great. And if you would like help with your personal development and achieving your goals, I highly recommend that you go and check out my personal development channel. I also have on my website a personal development workbook, which will really help with you getting towards taking action on your goals, and progressing with the things that you want to achieve. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to get in touch with me personally and you'd like coaching with me, then please go to www.christineloveridge.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye.